Welcome back, and this is my eyeshadow palette review video for the month of December. Today we're talking about eyeshadow. I finally did manage to get enough eyeshadow palettes for my sort of eyeshadow palette review video, so these are collective review videos that I do. I usually include 4 palettes, sometimes more, sometimes less. My collective makeup review video, I don't think we are able to squeeze that into December, so I think the collective makeup review video for the rest of the makeup products that I've been trying, I think you might have to wait till January for that one, sorry about that, but the December schedule is pretty packed when you consider it that there's quite a lot of like end of the year videos we have to do, which means basically my eyeshadow palette rankings and declutter videos and etc. About these videos or how I do my reviews, usually we have like, I try to rank these also, sometimes I don't rank them because I have like equal opinion about them, but today we do actually have these from like my favorite to like from my least favorite to my favorite. One of these was bit of a fail, and I am contemplating about the fact that am I actually gonna declutter. It was also one of, I think, the most expensive palettes when you compare the pans to the amount of like euros that I paid for a particular palette, so this is not good news when you think about the money spent, but that's sometimes what happens. But I'd say that except for the first one, which is the least favorite that we're going to be discussing, all the 3 other palettes that I did try are actually something that I did actually enjoy quite a lot, but it was just an individual color preferences that why some of them ranked higher than others. But let's start talking about the sort of palettes and how I thought about them, and on this side you will always see the swatches and then the demo looks that I did create with the particular palettes. Okay, and let's start with the most disappointing one. So unfortunately I do have to say this, so this was the Dior's holiday palette Fairy Circus. So this was Dior came out with two quints for the holiday as they usually do. They came out with a plummy one and they came out with this neutral one, and I chose this sort of, well not neutral, but this very reddish leaning one. Okay, so this was probably financially one of the worst makeup decisions I've made during this year. But I don't think this is the first time that I had this luck with Dior. I believe the first ever holiday Christmas palette that I bought from them 2 years ago, that was also a fail. I did declutter that quite quickly. Last year's palette, which I am gonna show at the end so you can kind of see the comparison between, because the packaging was pretty similar between these two. That was actually something that I did want to keep because I do think it was a bit better in terms of quality. Unfortunately, this one was a miss. I'm gonna pop in the looks and swatches. So as you can see from the looks and swatches, I was kind of able to make this work. I was kind of able to also in the end get distinctive different looks with this one, but I think why this fell short for me and why I'm particularly harsh for with this one is first of all the price point. And second of all, because it has only 5 shades, and with the price point that these special limited edition quints go for, I expect every shade to work. And unfortunately there are like 2 shades that are not working with this one, so these 2 shades especially were a disappointment. So first of all, there is only one true matte in this one, and it's this particular brown over here. And just like with the last year palette, there was like only, I think also with the last year's palette, there was only like 1 matte. And I was expecting that the kind of matte that you can use to sort of deepen up the eye looks with. Unfortunately, this doesn't build very well. Like I remember on several of the looks trying to build this and build this and build this, and it just doesn't, I can't get it to even to the opaqueness like almost that is in the pan, or I can kind of get it, but I do have to build it quite a lot. And it also wasn't like the smoothest mattes to work with, so not only do I have to work quite a bit to get it to show up, but it also maybe wasn't the smoothest thing to blend out. Then this kind of reddish shade over here, which I think is kind of meant to be a satiny light, but this was very dry shade to work with. I don't know what was like meant to be, because again I think this was meant to be one of those shades that you could kind of create depth to your looks with, but unfortunately it's very dry to work with. I tried to work it with a brush, I tried to work with a finger, and it wasn't working out. I'd say the other shades, so the orange one, the sort of white brightening up shade, and the golden shade in the middle, those kind of did work out fine. But I do say that, for example, from Dior's collection, that if you got their backstage summer palette from last year and you are kind of into this warm tone look, the quality, for example, between the quints and the backstage palette from last summer, like you can get similar looks, but the backstage palette much better quality. So if you're somehow able to get it and you are kind of wishing to get something a bit similar that you could get this one, the Backstage palette is much better option. I am gonna like show the comparison if you got the last year's one. These are, I think, two very distinctly different color stories. So this one from last year, which was the Golden Masquerade palette, so this one is definitely more rosy, this is more like orangey reddish leaning, so I do think that even if you would get these two, these are different enough, but the quality of this one was still, like, this is for a reason this got to stay. Even again, it's not maybe the best of the best that I have in terms of eyeshadow, but definitely much happier with this one. So with this one, I'm not gonna declutter this at this point because my eyeshadow palette declutter is coming quite close, but I would not recommend getting this. Like, I think I haven't watched any reviews of the like plummy palette that was the like second palette that came with the holiday edition this year, but at least this one, I can't recommend this one because I think you have to just work too much with this one, considering especially the price point you're paying, and considering that it's still at the end of the day a 5-pan eyeshadow palette, so also there is very limited range of things that you can do with this one, and when you have limited amount of shades, I really want all of them to work, and with this one we are having two of the like bigger shades that are not working, so yeah. Disappointment, unfortunately, but this is just how it goes sometimes when you try a lot of makeup, and not all of it can work. Unfortunately, this was just a very expensive misbuy on my case. Now we have the Dior out of the way, so all three of these palettes that are gonna come next, I did actually enjoy them. These are, all of them in one way were very, like, they are very nice palettes. It's just a color story preference at this point why one of them is like lower and then the other two will come after it. So I did shop Monolith Shop's Black Friday sale. They unfortunately had a very short Black Friday sale, and they have had it now in a couple of years, and it only lasted, it was like week before I think officially Black Friday, and it only lasted for a couple of days, and I did buy two palettes, which the other one we're gonna see later. This one, which is placing third, so this is the Wolf Moon palette. So this was Ensley range's expansion of their sort of like Cold Moon palette. So they originally had this very big palette. I'm gonna show these open side by side pretty soon. But they originally launched this one, and they came out then with two smaller palettes, and I then chose to get this particular one from the Monolith Shop's sale that they had. So this is a very, like, first of all, you have to like your gray tones, like gray cool tones, if you want to enjoy this. And I think this is actually the good point to like show that how these like kind of compare. Let's see how successful I'm gonna be. This is always a bit different. Let's see. So I hope we are now both on frame. So this is how they are kind of looking like against each other. This one, obviously the upper palette has more shades. And I do think that you kind of might still have like especially like most of the matte shade, you are kind of able to get pretty, like probably something pretty similar if you have the bigger palette. But I do think in terms of the like shimmer, especially with the shimmer shades, these are like more true like silvery leaning shimmers. I'm gonna pop in the looks and swatches. Surprisingly, even though I was kind of thinking that is this gonna be what I would say is this gonna be like too monotone of a palette, I was actually able to get three distinctly different looks with this one. My favorite looks actually was the one that is the burgundy leaning look, and it might appear first that how are you gonna get a burgundy look with this one? You have to kind of incorporate this one. I think I used this particular shade, and then I think I used the brown over here and maybe some other shade, and then I did put one of the shimmers on top of it. But I do think that even though I'm not usually like, I like a cool tone palette, but I have always said this because I have a cool rosy undertone. The rosy undertone kind of makes it the fact that if it's too gray, it can look a bit wonky on my skin tone. But even though it's a gray leaning palette, I do actually kind of did end up looking also the more gray leaning looks that I did with this one. Some of the shimmers did crease, so I think especially if you are gonna use this particular blue shade over here, with Ensley Rain there's been like quite a lot of variation. Some of their shimmers, they don't crease that badly, and then with some of the palette, especially the Light in Your Eyes palette that I tried in the beginning of the year, and then the summer launch that I tried during this year, with those there were quite a few shimmers that did end up creasing, but with this one I think this one was the like biggest culprit. The other shimmers in here, they did kinda, I think, Some of them creased a little bit if I had a long day, but it wasn't something that would make it usable. How I would have improved this, I do think especially with the mattes we could have done maybe something different, because there's like a row of grey mattes over here, and I think especially like these two are a bit too similar to be in a one smaller palette. And even this one, even though it looks kind of a deeper matte, I did feel that you had to build this quite a little bit to get it to the opaqueness. But I think with the mattes we could have like done maybe something with the mattes in this row to get even more versatility into this kind of smaller palette. Also with the shimmers, there is quite a bit of iridescent shimmers over here, so this one over here, this one over here, I would say even like this one over here. So with the shimmers there was also kind of the risk that with layering some of the mattes, some of the shimmers did end up looking a bit samey, but I think if you were looking for a more truly like more grey leaning option and you didn't want to buy the big original Cold Moon palette, then this could actually be a good alternative. They are now coming with an extension to the original big Cold Moon palette, so there's going to be a Cold Moon 2, which is a truly more like grey leaning bigger palette. So if you maybe have already this in your collection and you're eyeing the Cold Moon 2 palette, which is gonna be like a bigger palette again, maybe do actually some comparison that if you have this one, and especially if you have the sort of, because I think the other palette that came with this one was the Snow Moon palette, which is a similar size. So if you have this one and the Snow Moon palette, and if you also additionally have the original Cold Moon palette, then I don't think you necessarily actually will need the Cold Moon 2 palette that is going to be coming, because that is, as I said, truly going to be a grey leaning palette. But if you want this sort of like smaller grey leaning cool tone palette from Ensley, I do think it's a very nice palette, and in terms of quality I think you are going to still enjoy this one. Next is a palette that I did want to wait for it to become available on a sort of like brick and mortar retailer. I didn't want to order this online. So this is one of the Moira's new palettes that they came out in a series during the, I think it was during early fall. And this is the Lovers Starlight palette. They have two other palettes, one cool toned and one a golden toned, like neutral ones, but this is the more, what I would say, mauvish one that they have in there, in this particular range. So I have to say, I don't know how Moira does it with the price point. These are 24 euros in our retailer, so even in Europe, because with some US brands we see that the US brands in US are relatively affordable, then they come to Europe, and because I do understand that because probably of the import fees and the value-added tax that most European countries charge for, of course it's going to be probably a bit higher than the US, but the 24 euros, like, it's pretty hard to find 24 euro eyeshadow palettes in European drugstores that does it as well as Moira does. I don't know how they do it at this price point. I'm gonna pop in again the looks and swatches. You are gonna get some sort of like mauvish leaning neutral look with this one. So this is a bit limited. I think again with the mattes we could have gotten a bit more like range, because I again feel that with some of these mattes they are a bit like samey to be in a one single palette. We also do have these couple of like deep brown leaning shimmers in this one that again are a bit samey, but overall I actually did like I liked working with this one a lot, and I think this is such a nice formula for, I think, for a lot of like people, because you do get pigment with it, but it's still very blendable, it's easy to work with. Some of the deeper mattes kind of with Moira do suffer from the fact that you kind of have to work with them a bit carefully, because if you try to blend them out too quickly, then you are maybe then blending away the pigment a bit too quickly. But overall, for the price point and just how smooth it is, and especially also how smooth the shimmers are, I think a lot of people will enjoy this one. And if you are just looking for a nice pinkish mauvish neutral leaning color story, that you don't want this sort of very very punchy like bright pinks, but you want something more muted, I do think this is a very beautiful palette to go into and create some very like more toned down looks that kind of have a hint of pink in it. I think the only like, if you really like look at this, that there isn't like it kind of gives the impression with the packaging that it's a pink palette, but when you actually start looking at the shades, the only true like pink shade I think here is this particular shimmer, because this shimmer over here, it is more of a sheer shimmer once you start. Like you can kind of, if you build it up and layer it together with the right shades in this one, then you can kind of get it to show up pink, but at least I think on the looks I used it kind of ended up looking more like white. But also if you are buying this, then maybe also don't also go into buying this palette if you think that you want like just pink looks, because there isn't actually that much pink in it. The packaging is kind of misleading, but if you want, as I said, a hint of pink, but you are actually more into your mauvish neutral looks, then I do think this is a very good buy. And yeah, also I'm not maybe a fan of the fact that Moira still does this very bulky packaging, but overall I do also think the packaging design, especially considering again the price point, very on the point. And yeah, I'm just would wish that Moira maybe would come out with again maybe a bit more exciting color stories. They sometimes come out with some exciting color stories, and then they sometimes go back to the more like neutral ones, but would be nice to get some maybe more color stories, especially if they are doing this kind of formula that they are doing in this particular palette range. And the number one palette. So I skipped this palette last year, and I was very adamant last year in skipping this one, because I was like that I have this on the nose Christmas color story, but then Monolith Shop had this on their Black Friday sale, and I thought that, oh well, I've been now in probably like over a year now going back and forth that do I want to get this particular Cosmic Beauty palette or don't I? And then I thought that, okay, it's now on Black Friday sale, so it's gonna be now or never, so we have this one. And Cosmic Beauty, they didn't have a holiday launch this year. Their last launch of this year was it was like the Death Tarot themed palette. Wasn't my cup of tea. I did say that I will skip that one, but this one, well, it seems that every Cosmic Beauty palette that I have been going that, oh, I'm gonna skip it because it kind of looks appealing, but I'm not gonna like it. But again, this is now the second time this has happened, because last year it was also with the Neutrals palette that my brother ended up getting me as a Christmas present. I originally skipped that on launch because I was thinking that, okay, yeah, but we saw so many neutral palette launches during the time when the Neutrals palette came out, and I was thinking that I can like live without it, and then my brother ended up getting it for me, and it was like, so far it has been taking the crown this year of being one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes. Will this topple it? I don't think this is gonna be toppling the Neutrals palette. I can already like give a sneak peek of my end of the year ranking, but this is gonna be ranking relatively high in my end of the year ranking. In terms of quality, I'm gonna pop in the looks and swatches of this one so you can kind of see what I did with this one. In terms of quality, this is probably gonna pass the Lovers palette, which we all know that I would have adored the color story of that one, but I had a lot of quality issues with that one, especially with the pastels. In this one I can say that we don't have quality issues. There's only one pastel leaning shade, which is the light purple over here. With this one I felt that I had to build it a bit more to get it to show up. And then we had this particular purple shimmer over here. It's a very gritty shimmer compared to the other shimmers, and it can get kind of messy if you use this one up. Once you get this on your lid, it looks very beautiful. I didn't have any like creasing or texture issues with it. But it is a bit more crumbly compared to the other shimmers in this one. The only shimmers that I had creasing issues is this one, but this is one of these red-green based multichromes. I seem to have a lot of issues with these dual-toned multichromes that for some reason it's the formula in them, they just don't, they do end up creasing on my eyelids. But yeah, this is like awesome in terms of like color story quality. And you can like, it is this very on the nose Christmas palette that I have been critiquing a lot, because we're gonna soon see the comparison palette that what actually made me say last year no to this one, and then we can kind of like now compare that, are they actually that close? But even though it's the on the nose Christmas palette, I do kind of actually like the fact that we do get a nice range of colors. You do have the option to go neutral with this one. I actually did a quick neutral look with this one. It's the eye look that I'm wearing currently, where I just used the brown on the crease. I used, I think, this particular shade to sort of like blend out everything, and then I used this particular shimmer on my eyelid just to create something look, because I'm just like filming today, I'm not going anywhere. And you have the option to the sort of like basic neutral looks, but you can do very colorful things. I am suffering a bit with the issue, as I have suffered with the comparison palette. You probably have guessed now which palette I'm going to be comparing this one. That I am kind of having maybe a bit difficulties, and why this isn't maybe going to be the absolute favorites of my Cosmic Beauty palettes is that especially combining this green section with the rest of the colors here, I can like work fine mixing the pink, like this pink red leaning raspberry section over here, this purple section over here, and even this sort of brown orangey neutral section over here. But with the green one, I did try to attempt, you are seeing it in the looks, but the green section for me, it's a bit harder color story to mix up with the rest, so that is the like only thing knocking this down. So why I didn't initially get the palette was obviously because I already own this one, and I was kind of saying that I already have the like on the nose like this reddish green combo, and now we can see how we are gonna be, how successful we're gonna be doing this one. And yeah, when you are looking them, probably now you're saying that yeah, I can see probably some of the similarities. I think in terms of the green tones with the Odensai and this one, I haven't actually swatched these side by side because that would be like a bit of work. The green tones, I think some of them are quite similar. With the reds we are actually, because with this, the Cosmic Beauty palette, the red tones are maybe more raspberry leaning tones, while in the Odensai palette there is like one pink leaning, there's like the pink leaning shimmer in this one, but the reds are like more true reds, and then we do have kind of oranges that are kind of like this oranges and neutrals again. Maybe with something similar to this one, but so I think if you have both of these, do you necessarily need both of them? You obviously don't need any makeup in your collection, but I think that what it comes down to is that do you feel that the purple row adds enough like value to get the Cosmic Beauty one if you already own the Odensai one? I will be enjoying having both the palettes in my collection because I do think the quality is still very beautiful, and this is obviously like, is this actually, I think this is a bit bigger than the Odensai one. Yeah, so I think like for me it's worth it because I am enjoying this so much, even though I am kind of also suffering from having maybe a bit same limitation with the Odensai one, that as I said with the Odensai I'm struggling to mix the green with the reds. Here I have the issue that mixing the greens with the like all the three other rows, but it's a very small issue compared to the fact that how much I am still enjoying being like creating looks with this one, and just the Cosmic Beauty quality. This goes to the like good palettes that where I, as I said, aside from the couple of shades, I am very happy with the quality of this one and just the overall. Like it's a truly a like colorful Christmas in a palette. So if you are still like eyeing this one and you're able to somehow like find it somewhere, then yeah, I would still like recommend getting it because I do think in terms of quality, and especially if you like more colorful tones for Christmas season, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed with this one. Those were the eyeshadow palettes I had for this month. Comment down below if you have tried any of these ones. Did you agree with me? Did you disagree with me? Or maybe if you have been now having some palettes in your rotation, maybe what have been your top 3 most recent eyeshadow palettes. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog on Instagram. I'll be again soon in another video. Bye bye!